Ken, you're a man after my heart. I mean, you built your career in financial services. You with Sanford Bernstein, Carlyle Group, and NGN. I worked with Templeton. You believe deeply in Western civilization and Judeo-Christian values. You're a true American patriot, and you fought for national security as well as our own personal liberties. And you believe in free market economics. So it's really great to have you and let your wisdom be shared with our audience.
Happy to help. Happy to help.
Now, you have a new book out. It's called The Multi-Front War. And you've got the website SaveTheWest.com. And you talk about not only the threats to America, but also the solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about the threats? Who are America's enemies?
America's enemies are multiple, come from multiple avenues. But let me start off simple, and then we can get to more complicated.
Good.
The simple way to look at it is there's a battle between democracies and dictatorship. Approximately half the people in the world live in a democracy, which I color code yellow for the sunlight of Western civilization, and half the people live in a dictatorship or an authoritarian government, which I color code red for communists and equally important, green for Islamists. So the reds and the greens, the authoritarians, are trying to impose their will on the yellows, we the people, the democracy. And this war has actually been going on since the beginning of mankind. Since the beginning of mankind, how should societies be organized, top down or bottom up? The authoritarians believe it should be top down, the king and everyone else is a subject. And that's the top down approach. The bottom up approach is we the people determine the government, and if we're not happy, we change the government. So the question is, who's in control, we the people or the king? And that battle's been going on since the beginning of mankind.
No, there's no question. But it's not, you say multi-front, so we've got multiple enemies, and you've defined them, in those two broad categories. But there's also two categories. There's the external and the internal, isn't it?
Yes. Well, the reds and the greens are attacking us both externally and internally. So, in fact, one of the problems we have, I have a joke about this. You go to the Pentagon and you say, you meet the biggest general, and you say, Mr. General, who are the enemies? And he takes out his binoculars, just pretend, and he says, oh, I see Russian airplanes, and I see Chinese missiles, and but rest assured, we're going to defend America. And I go, General, turn around. Half of the enemy is in this room, in this building, in this city, in this country. What about them? Oh, I only use binoculars. I only look offshore at the enemies. I don't look at the internal enemies. Well, just because a map says China or Russia doesn't mean that China or Russia stay in China or Russia. I mean, the history of bad guys is they follow good guys wherever they are. So yes, so the enemies who are abroad are also in the U.S., but in a different form, for example. And so we have to identify that form and also go after it. So that's why you get the multi-front war, because it's not just the map of China, Russia, and Iran, for example. It's also what are they doing in the U.S.
No question. And in fact, to your point, this has been going on from day one of planet Earth. It's continued, like in the 1930s. Adolf Hitler was very popular at American universities. They loved Nazism. They embraced it. A lot of the business community embraced it. Henry Ford and Charles Lindbergh, and a lot of people here thought Nazism and Hitler's approach was a good thing until they were told differently and saw differently. So that's a problem. And we've got that problem here. America's corporations, it seems like a lot of them are infiltrated, just like you said the Pentagon might be.